Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we are joined by Ethan Daffy. And today we are previewing our round 8 clash, Adelaide v Carlton, Sunday, 3rd of May at the Saturday, 3rd of May at the Adelaide Oval. We returned to the Adelaide Oval. The last time we obviously went to South Australia to play at the Adelaide Oval was a few weeks ago against West Coast. So it's good to be back, and now we're playing against a very good side in Adelaide. But a lot of people have been saying that we're not too sure if Adelaide are the real deal. And I think this week, as much as it is for us, it is a real test for both teams. But Daff, first things first, mate, how are you to start off with and your initial thoughts ahead of this game off a bit of adrenaline last week against being the Cats? We've moved very quickly in the football world. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it is funny. You just move quickly. It's a good and a bad thing sometimes. Like when you lose, it's good to move on quickly, but when you win, you kind of want to hold on to that winning feeling, and it's like, oh no, what did we lose this week? And we're back to whatever. But yeah, no, I'm confident about this week. They're a good side, like you said. I think they had a strong probably first 3-4 weeks. Their offense is rolling. I think when they're unpredictable at the start of a season, I feel like teams are unpredictable at the start of the season. I think us in 2022 is an example of that. I don't think people were expecting us to be as good as we were in that first month or so. I remember like when we beat Richmond, everyone's going, Jesus, Carlton's actually on. And then we won another one, and then we won another one. And it's like, because we had been so, not great for a long time. And Adelaide are a similar situation. They've probably been playing under their expectation for 3 or 4 years. I know, they were close to finals a few years ago and probably offer Ben Keys a bad umpire decision. They probably missed the final. Well, they did miss the finals based on that decision. But it's won the last three at Adelaide Oval. I know two of them were gather round, but one of them was a big win against Port Adelaide last year, who were in good form at the time. Adelaide are going to want to strike back this week at home, and I feel like they've been winning games at home. They won that shocking contest a few weeks ago between them and the Giants. I've never seen a scrap fest bigger. So let's hope they try to turn it into a scrap fest, because I don't know if they can hold us down for as long as they held down the Giants.
Yeah. And the last time we played against the Crows at the Adelaide Oval was 2022.
Yeah.
When we went on that 4 losses in a row. I can't really remember what happened in 2022 when oh yeah, that's right. We lost to the Pies
Oh,
by a point to end our season. But quite unfortunate looking back to that. But yeah, I think we have to try and look past it and realize that I think we're a much better side than what we were then. We were quite inexperienced, and
yeah.
now heading into this game this week, exciting times. And yeah, like I kind of realized that we don't really play Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval
We,
often.
I think we played them in 23 in
Oh,
gather
did we play
round.
in 23? Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
we
we played
did.
them in gather round, the first game of gather
Oh,
round,
we
and
did.
we got absolutely slapped.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
So
that.
we're 4-0. We just won gather round, and then oh no, three and a
Yeah,
draw,
yeah,
and then played that, and then we lost. We just lost like 5 or 6 in a row. That's when it went all to shit.
yeah, we did. Oh, like literally, that game was just being completely what, and that was the
Yeah, I
first
know.
game of Gather Round, like the first ever like
Yeah.
introduction to Gather Round, and yeah. Because I was in America, so I was in Miami, and I woke up. So a mate of mine who I was over
Yeah.
there with, is a Carlton supporter as well, and like we literally woke up to watch the game, and we were just like, oh my god, what are we? It was like 3 a.m. The game started at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So I got up and watched it. And I'm like, oh,
Probably back to bed at 4 a.m.
I was back to bed at quarter past three, mate. So let's throw straight to the injury list, Death Boy. And there is some unfortunate news. I know that after the game, we only really touched on Zach Williams to an extent because we wanted to touch on Silvani a little bit
Yeah.
later when we found out more news, and it actually is quite unfortunate news for Sauce. So just to very quickly just go through a Duff, Sauce 1 to 2 weeks with a hand at the moment. He's definitely ruled out for this week, so he will not feature on Saturday.
Mm.
Zach Williams, as we just touched on, has a calf injury, and the timeline isn't
No.
really there yet. So we've we put it as to be continued, but it really is at a point now where it is quite worrying. And as you said before the episode started, he didn't look good. The injury didn't look good. It was quite a serious calf injury, so
Mm.
that is a very big worry for Zach Williams. And whether like when it does come season's end, what we do there, because he's not on peanuts,
Yep.
he is on quite a bit of money. We might need to free up
Yep.
some salary cap, but let's hope it isn't as bad, and let's hope he comes back in and proves himself to the side and to the club
Yep.
that he can play good football, which we know he can. That is very unfortunate for Zach. And not an injury, but a potential out this weekend. We won't know until further notice. And it's Adam Chera. He has been
Yep.
suspended for 1 week, which is, if, for the people watching on YouTube, you can see Duffy's reaction to that. It's an absolute joke, in my opinion, and I'm sure you feel the exact same way, Duffy boy. But though your opinion on those two injuries to an extent, I know that
Yep.
as soon as you speak, I'll probably go through the injury list and just names and players that could be a test this week, heading into the week after. But more importantly, about Chera potentially missing this week, there's now 3 potential outs for this week after a win. So you
Yeah.
can never be too positive, because then there is some negatives coming out of the win. But as we've said, it's next man up now. So the next guys that come in, that say Cooper Lord, who was sub last week, I've been saying he needs to have an opportunity to play a full game.
Yep.
It's kind of a chance this week. So your opinion, your thoughts on these 2 injuries and the suspension for Chera, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's first of all frustrating for Sauce, and it's frustrating for us. I think we've finally locked down a guy next to Wiedering for the next 5 years. I seriously think he is. We both questioned in the preseason, the whole him going back, Kemp going forward, but I think it's worked. Particularly the Silvani going into defence. You look back at it now, it's like, why don't we put him back there 2 years ago? Like the way he's reading the footy, he reads the ball well, he's good by foot, he's a bit bigger. And yeah, he just works really well next to Weeders. He's the fourth or fifth highest rated defender of the season so far. And he's starting to get a little external. Everyone's getting around him externally as well, which is good to see. It's not just us saying it; it's proper experts looking into the game and going, "Gee, that's going to be a big out for them." So, yeah, frustrating. 1 or 2 weeks, probably misses Adelaide and Saints. Worst case, hopefully, touch wood, it's not worse. But yeah, hopefully he's raring and ready to go for. I think it's Sydney in a few weeks' time. So, the good thing about a hand is he still gets to do his running and stuff over the next 2 weeks. That doesn't affect, him doing that kind of stuff. So it's not like he's not going to be fit when he's ready to go. It's frustrating, but like you said, we have there's one guy in particular who can come in, but we've also got defenders in there that can play a little bit taller than they have been in the last few weeks. Zach Williams, yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and I know it's out of his control, and I don't understand the whole everyone, piling on and having a go at him, and it's like, whoa, it's like what else is he supposed? Like he's not wanting these injuries.
No, of course
You can
not.
look by, he does not want to be injured like this consistently. So yeah, until I know how long it is, I did read that it's not as bad as his calf in 22, which he hurt against the Giants. I heard it's not as bad, but I think we just wait and see until he gets his scans done or however long the severity of it is. But yeah, it's going to be, you know, he's been playing an interesting role. I feel like our other small forwards have stepped up. And I know he kicked a bag last week against North, but for me, of course, I'd rather him there in the side. But I think we can cover it. I think our smalls have been playing at a very, very good level, headlined by Corey Durden, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
he has just come back in great form. And I know he only had the 6 touches last week, but just his presence around the footy has been great. Will Wyatt's been great. Jesse Motlop's had his moments. Fogarty had his best game in a long time on the weekend. So, we've got guys in good form. So if he's out, I can back these guys in to play some good footy without Williams in the side. And finally, let's delve into this suspension. This is like he got him, but it's not. Are we being serious? Like, is that really like if you go, okay, fine, $2,000 fine, it was a bit careless, maybe. I don't even know if it was careless. I just think both players are pushing each other in the chest. He unfortunately gets him, probably in the chin kind of neck area. Bose goes down. If Bose stays up, I'm not blaming Bose, but if Bose stays up, he wouldn't be suspended. That's how ridiculous the MRO is at the moment. And Michael Christian, who runs the MRO, was a former Collingwood player. So he's always been in the kind of firing line from a lot of supporters based on his decisions he makes. I think he's completely forgotten what 1 week suspension looks like. And that does not look like Chera suspension. I think, well, they're challenging it tonight. So we're filming this on Tuesday. They will challenge this tonight. And I'm not going to guarantee it, but I'll really back him in to get probably down to a fine. What are your thoughts, Patto?
Yeah, it's a very worrying sign knowing that this is like what a 1 week suspension is. And
Yeah.
we touch on Curtis as well, Paul Curtis from North Melbourne.
Oh,
That
yeah.
tackle on Josh Sin, 3 weeks. And it
It's his,
was pure momentum. And we speak
yep.
about it all the time. And this is the conversation that has gone on within the football world on like TV channels, TV shows, and I'm sure from like a fan's point of view, like fans'
Mm,
content, like Baggers Chat, we
yep.
come out and say the exact same thing. And how, like, what is Paul Curtis meant to do in that situation when if he didn't go for that tackle and he stepped away, every fan, every
Yep.
coach would be saying, "What the
Yep.
fuck are you doing?" It's
Mm.
dropped next week because he didn't play that tackle.
Yes.
But
It's
he makes the tackle and does
mm,
nothing wrong. It's more Josh Singh because if you see the action,
drops the knees.
so you actually force the impact, and it's very unfortunate. I mean, Josh
Yeah,
Singh's
yeah.
obviously not wanting to get concussed. He's
Mm-mm.
not wanting to send Paul Curtis out for three weeks. Like he wants to stay out there, but it's just the
Mm,
momentum. It's the action. It happens in AFL football. It
mm,
is a contact sport, and that is
mm.
what they can't realize. Like that I've had to go through concussion, and I've had to
Yeah.
medically retire from playing football. It's unfortunate, but I don't look back and being like, oh, like I don't have a go at
Yeah.
what's happened. Like I'm sure you would have had concussions as
Mm,
well. We
mm,
all have concussions, but we don't look back and being like, oh, like I don't feel bad for myself or sorry for myself because I can't play. Like
mm.
it's a contact sport, and unfortunately, when you
Yeah.
do play football in contact sports, you just saying that you have to deal with. And some people
Mm,
can deal with it better than what other people like.
mm.
Can. And it's just the blatant obvious for contact sports. I just can't believe we are still in the like that.
Yeah.
This has been an issue for a few years now where suspensions
Mm.
are just ridiculous and it's
Yeah.
still a thing. And I cannot believe more so with the Chera suspension. Jack
Oh,
Bowes, as you said, if he didn't react, there would be no conversation whatsoever. But it's because he
yeah.
reacted and
Yeah.
said to the umpire, "Oh, like he punched to the
Yeah,
chin."
yeah, which is that's in the game, but
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They're both doing the same thing. They're both doing that's what my thinking is. They're doing the exact same like action. It
mm.
was just that Chera got him, and you could see him straight away kind of say sorry. He
Yeah,
kind of like put his hand out, going, "Oh shit," like my
yeah.
bad.
But you
So
can't.
it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, I know that's not anything to do with the week suspension, but I'm just saying you clearly by that
exactly.
it's an accident.
Yeah,
It's in the game.
yeah,
And like you said with the Curtis one, if you didn't get suspended, don't be three.
yeah.
Three
I
is
know.
just so large for a season. Like imagine the start of a
Unbelievable.
final series, right? Someone gets suspended for a tackle in the qualifying final and they win the qualifying final. He'll miss the grand final
Yeah.
of that shit. Like, I understand 1 week because you're trying to stamp out some of that stuff in our game, which I'm fine with. The dump tackles, that wasn't a dump tackle.
No.
It just wasn't. He was chasing from behind. He got him. Those ones when they're, that extra,
Of course.
you can clearly, go for it, suspension. But even three sometimes is a little bit too far. But
Mm.
yeah, with the Chera one, I'm confident. I'm confident he'll play. And that'll obviously impact our ins and outs, whether he does or not. I think we'll speak about that a little bit. In my ins and outs, I'll have him out for now, but I'll also kind of have the alternative variation if he stays in, which I'm very, very confident they'll get it done. We bloody got, our lawyers know how to get the job done. I know the whole Cripps one wasn't actually based on the action, but it was actually based on how the ruling was. I don't think people understand that. Every year they go, oh, Cripps got off the Brownlow, blah, blah, blah. It actually wasn't about the bump. That was the suspended thing, right? But it was actually like, I think it was something to do with the framework of how the MRO works. And they remember they went higher and higher. Like they wasn't through that suspension. It was through like, I don't know what it was, but it was a very legal kind of battle rather than worrying about the actual suspension. It wasn't about the bump. It was about some sort of, I don't know what
Mm,
it was, but the
yeah.
lawyer found something that they hadn't nailed down in the MRO. People don't understand that. Like that
Mm,
bump should be suspended, the Cripps one, but they found some, not a loophole, but some sort of thing, and people still talk about it. It's like, fuck me. And they fixed that rule now. So Cripps would be suspended now. But isn't that a lawyer's job? To get the
exactly.
bloke off, to find a way, and they did.
Exactly right.
So, I think they'll find a way to get Chera off and he'll get a fine.
Yeah, even looking back, and then I even do it as well, like with Cripper, and people say, "Oh,
Mm.
the only reason why he's won two Brownlows," and I'm like, "Is because of that." And then it's like, "Oh, well, he still went back out in 2024 and won a
Mm.
Brownlow." So
Mm.
yeah, you can't really say much about that, and people still
No.
complain about. It's just people in general. I just think that they
Oh,
always find a way, and it's unfortunate. There's people out
yeah.
there, unfortunately, in the world. Everyone has to deal with them, so we just don't really want to put them in the
No.
spotlight in the public eye. But yeah, it's a. I just really worry about this sort of action, and it's because it's to the head. And I think with Jack Bowes, when he did react and he was looking for a free kick, that's the
Yeah.
problem. And it's the exact same thing with the sling tackle.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's more to do with the reaction than the actual
Yeah.
action.
Mm,
So
mm.
George Hillett might have swing like a Bailey Smith, right? But okay, I'll give you an example. So Easter Monday, Bailey Smith, when he banged the ball,
Yeah.
Connor Nash's
Yeah.
no, Impey's head. If Impey
Mm.
went down and was concussed, Smith would have been out for weeks.
Yeah. Well, he did go down. So
But like he didn't go out. So it's like
yeah. It's yeah.
it's the reaction and the aftermath and the injury that's the problem. I would rather Smith get 3 weeks for that and say it is
Mm.
the action. And they always say, no, it's the action that we don't allow. What? So you're allowing a guy smacking a ball, like a pumped up ball, very
Yeah.
hard ball. We know
He
how
doesn't
hard
get a
it
week.
is.
He
Sorry?
doesn't get a week, and Shearer gets a week. So if
Exactly.
Chera had a footy in his hand and did the same
Exactly.
thing, he would have got off. That should be the argument.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So it's more to do with the
Mm.
action than the aftermath and the injury. If this guy gets concussed, he's out. There's no like Paul Curtis. If Josh Singh doesn't get knocked out, there's no conversation. Like so, like George Hewitt might like I saw a sling tackle on the weekend and it was spoken about in the broadcast, but it obviously hasn't been brought up at all because it
Yeah,
didn't get
yeah,
suspended. I don't know exactly what it was. I think it was the Port Adelaide North game as well. So
yeah.
it was. I think it may have been Ollie Wines to an I don't know, but there was a tackle and it looked pretty bad, but the player was
Mm.
fine, so there was no conversation about it. So
Uh,
I just think it's something they need to focus more on the actual action and say we
yeah, yeah.
can't allow that action. Like Paul
Mm.
Curtis, you're doing the right thing. It's unfortunate. It's a contact sport. No
Yeah,
weeks. And I think North Melbourne and Carlton with Chera have something to work with because it's the action.
yeah, yeah,
But I think Paul Curtis almost has more to work with than Chera because I know it's accidental, but it's
yeah,
it's to the head and it is a bit of a strike. But we see it all the time. If he does it
yeah,
any lower,
yeah.
it's so
And I don't
funny.
think
'Cause
I don't even think it was that high because I looked at the point of impact.
it was like here.
Someone zoomed it in, and it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad.
Is it here?
It's like fuck me.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
fuck. Like
I know.
really. Like, are we getting to this point in our sport that we're worrying about this stuff? Like sometimes in games now, I'm worried about players tackling people
Yeah.
because I'm like, I don't want Cripps to get fucking suspended.
Yeah.
It can cost teams games.
Yes.
And I know, we can cover Chera because we've got a good list, but he's still a fucking important thing. Like he's going to make it a bit easier for us to beat Adelaide on the weekend if he is playing. If he is playing based on his form as well. So, no, he better get off. It'd be absolute disgrace if he doesn't get off and Bailey Smith didn't get suspended.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with Smith getting the fine, but if Chera gets suspended,
Oh, it's
then it's
bullshit.
like, well, it's not an even ball game then.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's not an even ball game.
Yeah.
If Chera gets suspended, then Smith should have got suspended, and
Yeah.
then vice versa. If it's a fine, it's a fine.
Yeah.
It's too inconsistent. It's worrying me. It is worrying me, not just for Carlton, but just the game as a whole. It is just like,
Mm.
come on, man. Like, I'm all for don't hit blokes and all that kind of. Chera got him in the chin.
Yeah.
That's not going to knock him out, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fuck, really? Bo's played the rest of the game. And for all we know, he's probably got a broken jaw. No, he doesn't. But you know what I mean? Like, it's worrying. It's really worrying. But yeah, you could talk about it we'd have a whole episode about this, but it's just
Mm.
ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think that's the mindset of everyone is like, that is the worry right now. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like you see other examples that are a hell of a lot worse. Like even to like looking back with Cripps, that bump on Archie. Imagine if that happened today and he got off. That's confusing to me. I think we all kind of admit that
Yeah.
potentially in the modern day now, probably
Mm.
probably should have gotten suspended. But then there was something to work with. There was a
Yeah.
loophole,
Yeah.
as you said. He
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
off, and that's a lawyer's job,
Yeah.
as you said. And yeah,
Mm.
it's an absolute joke that the Bailey Smith that whole issue was not brought up more because that is the exact action.
Yeah.
He's got a fucking footy smacking it against Impey's head. That's a
Yeah.
serious worry.
Mm.
I don't know. I just and that's intentional, completely
Yeah.
intentional. He's trying to
Yes.
smack his head.
Yeah, that's
It-
where I think Carlton will get off. I think it's
ridiculous.
completely unintentional, and it's already been graded. It's already been graded, Patto, low impact.
Yeah.
So if he does not get off,
Mm.
it's already considered low impact. They don't have to get it down from medium to low. They've got to get it from low to it's already
Nothing.
there.
Yeah.
They'll get him off. I can almost guarantee it.
Exactly right. So, David Boy, let's now move on to the ins and outs. Yeah. So before we do move on, I think it's probably a good thing that we both do touch on Chera and have him as an out. But as you said, let's have a bit of an option as to if Chera does play, then what the structure will look like there. But I'll throw straight to you for the ins and outs, including the sub. What have you got?
Yeah, so my selection will be with Chera out. I don't think he'll miss, but I'll do it for now, and then I'll talk about who won't come in if Chera's still in. So my ins and outs, Silvani, Chera, and Williams. That's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you've got the exact same. That's just forced outs, no other omissions from the game. I'm trying to keep the changes limited as possible, and it's just it's annoying that there's 3 outs. Like you want to kind of have that continuity in the team, but my ins have gone for Lewis Young, particularly the replacement for Silvani. I'm liking the Haynes and McGovern coming across as kind of the third talls. They can play taller. One of them's going to have to play on a tall, whether it's Fogarty, Tex, one of them. Just get a matter of how the matchups work. The matchups worked really well on the weekend. They kind of changed a little bit. Silvani was on Cameron sometimes he was on Danger. Like it was good to see that we can adapt and really work out the matchup. So Youngie's in. He was stiff to miss last week. He's the guy. He's the first name called for me if there's a key position out. So he's in for me. Cooper Lord comes up from the sub to replace Chera if Chera's out of the game. And my last in, he had 30 or 27, 28 in the twos on the weekend, played really well. They won the game against a pretty handy Geelong VFL side. So Sam Doherty comes back into the side just due to the injury with Williams. I wouldn't have brought him in otherwise. But I think Doc is similar where he can play that kind of half forward, can shift back if you need him, can chuck him on a wing, can go through the middle, especially if there's a player like Chera out. Then you can kind of go Lord and Doherty can kind of share that, play a little high, play that high half forward role and also roll through the middle because you're going to have to cover the Chera minutes if he's out. But yeah, it's frustrating those ins and outs. But my sub, I really don't know. I might go. No, I'm going to go Lucas Camporelli as the sub. Just a bit of speed. You could probably bring Ben in as well. One of them too, but I think with Lucas, he's kind of got that outside run you might need in the last quarter to replace a Doherty or replace a Lord or something like that. Just to have someone different. You might roll in Walsh more through the middle if
Mm.
Lucas comes back in. So, those things. I like a guy with a little bit of run. You could probably put a Bins in, or you could put, some sort of pace. I like a bit of pace and a bit of adaptability. So, but finally, if Chera is not playing, so if it's only two out, Silvani and Williams, I'd put. It's tough. I'd probably put Cooper Lord in and Doc as the sub. I think Lord almost deserves to be in the 22.
Yeah. I'm not gonna really beat around the bush. That is the exact changes I have. I know
Yep.
to a larger extent I was thinking about Cowan, but I just don't
Yeah.
really see a spot for him. I think it's good to have a guy like Cowan in the
Yeah.
VFL. Not really um, having a look in the senior side, and we know that Chincotta should be
Mm.
available to play next week or the week after in the VFL, and I don't think he
Yep.
really comes straight back into the senior side. Just having a look at the stats of from the VFL last week, and
Yep.
Camperelli had 23 touches, but Sam Doherty had the most
Yep.
disposals with 28. Jackson Binns still played solid with 22 touches, if I can speak English, that boy. Jordan Boyd as well played a good game, and that's another play that we probably expected to play a bit of senior football at the start of the year, and I don't think Boyd really
No.
is an option at the moment. Billy Wilson played a good game as well. Frankie Evans is another player. Lucas Camporelli. So I
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna have the same sub, but another option could be his brother Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one or the other. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know if you do
Yeah. He
debut.
debuted him. I know.
I just hate doing
That's what
that.
I thought. That's why I didn't put him as a sub.
I hate
That,
it.
yeah.
I hate it.
And I don't think you'd play him like if Chera's out. I don't know if you play him ahead of Cooper Lord at the moment.
Yeah,
I think
no.
Lord's had that kind of match experience this year, so that was kind of my thinking. Exactly what you were thinking. Just I'm not a fan of the debut as the sub, but sometimes teams are forced to, and sometimes
Mm,
you got to work your way up. But yeah, like he's another famous Carlton name. I'm not debuting him as a sub. That'd be a little bit. I think it's a bit low sometimes.
yeah. And do you think there's any, I guess, chance that Ashton Moyle could come in for Zach Williams to a larger extent and then bring in Doc as a sub? I know that's not something
Yeah.
I want at the moment, but I know that it could be somewhat of a like for like because we know that Zach Williams has been
Mm.
that stay at home forward at times because
Yeah.
he is a
Yeah.
little bit on the taller side, and Moya could be that player. So, do you think there's any chance
Mm.
that Moya could be featured on Saturday?
No, I think I agree with you, like for like. I just don't want to throw like he's handy, but I just don't know if it's a bit of a throw to the wolves type, like throw him to the wolves. Like they've
Yes.
got some pretty good kind of medium. I think Max McElhenney is that his name, from Adelaide's
Yeah.
hasn't lost a one-on-one this season. So, he's one of those mid-side, and if he's playing against a Moya, you don't want to kind of put him in that position, in my opinion. I think, you either play a Doherty, Doc's been there, done that. I'm not saying it's not a safe pick, but, compared to a Moya who played against Collingwood for 3 quarters, struggled. Like I need him to put together some massive performances in the twos for me. But, if he plays, he plays, Patto. We get it back in whoever's there.
Mm. I'm just having a look at the stats as well. There is a certain player that I feel like would be perfect coming in this week. He's actually not on the Carlton list.
Oh, yeah.
You know exactly what I'm speaking about, but to the viewers who don't know who I'm speaking about, Liam McMahon, man.
Mm-mm.
If only. If
Yeah.
only he was to be featured. And I don't know why we didn't pick him up in the in the preseason like period.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have another chance in the mid-season draft this year. So hopefully, if Essendon aren't as interested in him as what we hopefully are, because we
Mm.
do have an opening now with Kemp, and potentially, well, Newman's not on the
No,
long-term
not yet.
list, but yeah, it's so frustrating because I'm looking at his stats and he got 3 goals, 3 with 10 touches, and that's pretty much the exact type of stats that Zach
Mm.
Williams would be getting.
Yeah.
So
But the risk with picking up McMahon is it's looking at the list after postseason. So when you pick up a guy in the mid-season, you're forced to sign him for 18 months.
isn't it
So
6 months?
no, so I read somewhere that it's an 18-month contract. It happened with Boyd. So if it no, it's not 6, it's 18.
Oh,
So It's an 18-month contract, so it's like a 1.5 year contract. And the reason why some teams don't opt to use that spot if they're in a tight salary cap. So if you get to postseason, you go, fuck, McMahon's not that fucking good. You're locked in to pay him for the next
Yeah,
season.
right.
So that's my thinking of why we won't pick him up in the mid season. And I agree with the decision. I'd rather have him, picked him up in the preseason. But yeah, clearly there's something they don't like. He's more of a key, I guess, and it'd be a good depth option, of course. But yeah, I think that might be the reason why because we're really tight. It's a really tight squeeze at the moment. We know the whole situation with TDK and other guys who are re-signing. You brought up the Zach Williams point earlier. So yeah, that'd be a thing as well. Like, do you want to go like if you pick him up in the mid-season? You you pick him up for 18 months, and if
Yeah.
he plays 3 games, you go, fuck, we could have had another list spot because list spots are tight. Since COVID, they've it's cut, like the list sizes have been smaller. So probably 4 or 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, you could probably take on a Liam McMahon on your list because you have an extra 3 or 4 list spots, and it's not a risk you can take. But yeah, with Carlton at the moment, it's a real squeeze.
Yeah, well, I know that there was definitely a stage that there was a 6 month contract for mid season.
Mm,
So obviously
mm,
it's changed.
yeah,
But yeah, yeah, that's obviously a bit of a worry now because it's like, as you said, we don't really know if he can perform in AFL. Like, I
yeah,
mean, he did get delisted from Collingwood, so there obviously
mm,
was a point in time when he had the chance to perform at AFL level, and he obviously didn't. So
yeah.
that's a kind of conversation that has to happen. But we end up picking up Frankie Evans anyway, and he got delisted by 2 clubs. So it is an interesting one, and whether we don't need to use that mid-season trade, do we? Pick,
No,
do we?
no, no, no.
Yeah, okay.
We don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to if we don't want. And like you said with Newman, he isn't on the long-term injury list, so I do need to probably update myself on how many list spots we do have if we can even take a mid-season draftee because sometimes it's all sorts of moving pieces and stuff like that. But yeah, I actually think Nick Newman will come back around round 20. So
Mm,
that's my thinking. There was some good mail I saw over Twitter from some very good credible kind of sources and places that are offered rights. So, gee, if it gets to round 20, if it gets to round 20, Batto, and we can give Newey a runway of a month of games, Jesus. And
mm,
Carroll's playing well, but I think Carroll is still on that, not a fringe player, but I still think he's on that on the borderline with. I think he's in that group of him, Cowan, and Boyd
oh yeah.
at the moment. I think he's playing well, and I think he'll stay in the team. But there's no reason for him to just be a lock at the moment.
Mm,
The team's always going to change. Round 15, Pato, we'll be talking about someone who's been playing twos, who's a lock at the back end of the year. There could be
mm,
a Ben Camperelli, Lucas Camperelli, bloody Billy Wilson for all we know. Like we just don't know,
mm,
and that's why I love doing a potty because sometimes at the end of the year I sometimes rewatch how our like what we were thinking at
mm,
the start of the year compared to the end of the year. Like we thought Boyd at the start of the year was a lock, and now we
mm,
look at it, Pato. We wouldn't have thought at round 7 he'd be fit and not playing.
mm,
Like it's funny how the footy season works and how guys form and injuries can kind of change the whole look of it.
mm. And yeah, like even to a larger extent, like Ashton Moore as well. I know
Yeah,
that at the start of the year we were very convinced that he's going to be playing a lot of senior football, and he hasn't been. Well, I mean, he has been featured, but he hasn't really
yeah, you're right.
lived up to the expectations. So I know that. Yeah, looking back, I want to try and actually like see what our thoughts were, and then see what we were saying because we probably were like quite convinced that a few players would actually step up that haven't really done so, and then we probably even haven't really touched
Yeah,
on like a Corey Durden as
100%.
as much as we as much as we did. We didn't really touch on Durden over the preseason, and now he's
Mm,
pretty much dominating. Now he's one of those probably locks at the moment to
yep.
be in the best 22. And I think another player in that category with Carroll is probably like a
Yeah.
Will White as well.
Yes. Yep.
And like it's great to have though because these
No.
guys are going into the game every single week, not like guaranteeing a game the week after. And I think about a month ago, I was actually looking back to a few episodes to when we actually filmed in person. And
Yeah.
we were even speaking about Lewis Young being like an absolute lock in our best 22.
Yeah.
And now seeing how far we've evolved from
Mm.
like 2022 to now, it's just
Yeah.
unbelievable. And another thing also about, I think Footy Classified last night, Matthew Lloyd was saying about why
Yes.
it took so long with Silvani to find that um, to find his role and position as a key
Mm.
defender. I don't know why it took so long. That's what
Yeah.
he was saying, and it's probably because we haven't really
And,
had that opportunity to really play him as that key back. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think people are forgetting he was pretty impactful ahead of the ball. I think I think people
100%.
have completely, since his injury, I reckon people have completely forgotten
How good he
his
was.
impact he had when, we were rolling in 23. So, yeah, it is an interesting one. And, it is a good question to raise why he hasn't been tested down there. But, we were like 22, we had Lewis Young who had a good season,
Yeah.
like you mentioned before. So it evolves, and your team consistently evolves. You look at Brisbane; they won the premiership. They lost one of their key pieces in Danaher. Now they're rolling with Sam Day. So it's just changing, and you got to change the way you play sometimes. And we've gone with a smaller forward line now. We don't have the three talls, and then, Brody Kemp's injury, as I hated it, and I wish him all the best. But sometimes when a player comes out, it can be a little bit of a blessing in disguise for your structure. I'm not saying injury at all is a blessing in disguise, and mind you, I'm putting that out there. I do not want him to get injured, but sometimes it lets you trial something else, and it's clearly working better than what we were doing. And I know we never had Harry and Charlie in the team together, so that's
Mm.
another thing you can talk about. But yeah, I'm liking the way we're looking.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the structure, and that's why the way that you think is quite similar to how I think is
Yep,
it's the like for like. We don't want to change the structure so much. Like, I was probably considering bringing Cowan, as I said, but I'm like, I
yep.
don't want to change that back 6 to 7
No,
players.
no, yep.
I don't want to change it. And
Mm.
and I know that Ollie Hollands was.
Oh
I was
yeah,
probably asking him to try and play on the wing a little bit more, but he's kind
yeah.
of now locked that position in the back line, and I think he's
Gee,
great. And
he's looking good, Patto.
yeah, really good, and he's evolved, and we've mentioned about how he locked down a Dylan Moore, and I feel
Mm.
like there's not, and there's still conversation going to why is Ollie Hollands playing in
Uh,
the senior side, and I'm like, are you watching the game?
yeah, it's like
Do you?
Haynes. It's exactly the same thing. You
Mm,
watch him, you watch him play one bad game. Everyone plays a bad game.
mm,
No one's ever talking about Charlie when he plays a bad game, are they?
no.
And he probably had a few games early in the year where he wasn't up to standard. Let's be real.
Mm,
But yeah, with those, they just, every team has them. We had Plowman a few years ago, scapegoat. You always have a scapegoat when you play bad, and those two were the scapegoats.
mm.
Haynes and Hollands. But yeah, both of them, they're looking right at home at the moment in their positions.
And yeah, I think they need to play really well to get recognition. Like Haynes's game last week was like out of this world,
Yeah,
but like there's not like there's conversation, of course, going to him because he probably looked like the bloody All Australian Nick Haynes that we know he
yeah,
can produce, but he's not going to play like that every week. So
no,
it's like you
yeah,
just give him some recognition and know that like that's the absolute best, and that's like probably one of the best key defenders you'll see play a game. And
mm,
Ollie Hollands
mm,
played well, and he's been playing well the past few weeks. Like no one
yeah,
speaks about that Hawthorn game other than us. How
yeah,
well he did on Dylan Moore, but no one looks at the defensive side of things, what
no,
he's doing to stop his opponent. Like, yes, Hawthorn still got the job done in the end, but to
hundred
limit
percent.
a guy like Dylan Moore and his impact where we know he
Mm,
can be so good was just great. And it was his
yeah,
second game playing as a defender.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know why we continue to shit on players. And I know you don't do it. I know I don't do it. And that's saying that
mm,
I think we can both hold our heads high. But when it's at a point in time when players aren't performing, yes, we bring it up, but we
of
don't.
course.
When guys are performing, we actually give them credit. So, Dave Boy, let's now move on to the opposition watch. So, for the people who don't know what this is, we go through the back line, midfield, and forward line for the opposition for Adelaide this week, and we touch on each player from each line and kind of explain why they're a bit of a threat come this Saturday, 4:15. Is it? I think that's the
Yeah, I think
time
so.
now.
Yeah, kind of a
But
kind of
Dave Boy, as you
twilight,
always do. Hey, sorry.
kind of a twilight
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
They've usually had games like that because last week's game, Port
Mm.
Adelaide North Melbourne was 4:15 as well.
Mm,
Kind of
I
like that
seen that. It seems
twilight
to be
heading
a
in.
Seems to be a common kind of slot now.
Mm. Yeah, but I'll throw to you straight away as we always do for the backline opposition watch. What have you got?
Yeah, you know, they've got a few good players down there.
Yeah, they
I think
do.
I think the reason why they leak goals, I don't think it's particularly their back six. I think it's more their team defense and where they're turning the ball over. You watch Carlton on the weekend, and they continually pressured high up the ground. And where do we turn over the ball, Patto? Highest most of the time was probably 50, 60 out from Geelong's goal or a middle of
Mm.
the ground. And what happens, Patto? You get more opportunities to score. So my issue at the moment with Adelaide is they seem to be getting peppered inside 50, inside their defensive 50, and they can't handle it. So that's why they seem to leak goals a lot. So you looked at the Fremantle game. I know they didn't concede heavy, but it was a very highly contested game, and they just seem to just leak goals they shouldn't be leaking. So my watch, I like a few of their players down there. Max Michael Annie, who I spoke about before. I think before last weekend's game, he had 10 one-on-ones, and he had won six of them and halved four of them in total. So he didn't lose one 1v1. And when I spoke about him on Moya, he'll probably take I don't know, with Williams out now, he probably goes to a Motlop maybe.
Mm.
Motlop being the more dangerous figure. I guess, we've got other guys rolling through the forward line as well. Could be, when Cripps go on, he's probably a bit small for Cripps, but like he's that medium type who can probably take one of those resting forwards or one of the smalls. But yeah, I really like him. He's underrated. He's been spoke about the last few weeks, particularly the 1v1 stat, which kind of caught my eye a couple of weeks ago, and I knew I was going to speak about it on this episode. So yeah, he's my one to watch in their defense.
Yeah, I think I like the way that Michael Lanny goes about it. I think
Mm,
he's been really good this season with how he's played his football. And what I've noticed with Adelaide's defense is they are actually quite tall. Like Michael Lanny is
yes.
classified as a medium defender. Josh Worrell is classified as a medium defender, and both of them are actually quite tall. So Michael Lanny is 190 centimeters, and
Yeah.
Josh Worrell is 195 centimeters. So they're both
Yeah.
taller
Sure.
than Brody Kemp and Jack Silvani. So when you look at it from that
Mm,
point of view, as to Silvani is quite tall, but
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
classified as a medium defender, but they can easily play as a key defender. And that's what I'm saying. I think we can kind of exploit
Mm,
their defense to an extent because we've got
yeah.
the small ball where you probably would expect Nick Murray to go to Mackay, probably a Mark Keane to play on a Charlie Curnow to an extent when he goes
Yeah.
up the
Yep.
ground, and then probably
Yep.
switch that around. But Michael Lanny and Worrell and Mitch Hinge as well, those three
Yeah.
are like quite big guys, and they'll
Mm,
probably be forced to play on a Durden and a White and a
yes.
Motlop and a Fogarty.
Mm,
That could be a point of difference there, I think, in that forward line where
yep.
obviously Mackay and Colonel, I think they're quite
Of course.
I guess like they can be um found out a little bit from these defenders because they are quite solid. But it's the small forwards that I think can have a
Mm,
really big impact this week. So I like Michael Annie as a pick, but I think I'll go Mitch Hinge. I think
yeah.
his ball
Well,
use
he's suspended. So
was he suspended
he's
this week?
yeah, he's got a 1 week which they're challenging as well. So
What was that?
uh, a swinging arm to the face. So
To Brayshaw?
uh, yes, that one. Yep, that was the one. Yeah, so he got a week for that. That's worse than the chair run, I reckon, because it was more of a swinging action.
Hang on, yeah.
So
That got
yeah,
suspended.
yeah. So he got a week for that. Yeah, yeah. So um,
Wow.
yeah, so that's going to be a watch as well. But I agree. I think he's definitely one to watch down there, Pato. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, well,
that'll be a nice out to have.
that very nice,
He's a
nice
good ball
out.
user. He's a good ball user from their back 50. So no, I really like that pick from you.
Yeah. So I'll say Hinge, but if he doesn't play,
Hmm.
I don't want this
Yeah,
to come back to bite me in the bum, but I don't think he's a real threat. But Rory Laird has been transitioned
yeah,
back. I still think he's kind of a accumulator. I don't think he really gets a lot of the footy and makes an impact. I know he gets a lot of the footy, but I don't think he
yeah, yeah, yeah.
makes the impactors. So like a
Mm.
Mac Harrell, if he gets 15 touches, they're quite impactful touches. So I'll stick with Hinge, but if he doesn't play, I'll go Laird. And I
Yep.
don't really want to copy you with Michael Annie. But as I said, I love that pick, Daffy Boy. So let's now move on to the midfield opposition watch, Daffy Boy. There's a few guys there that can definitely make an impact. I know that Draper is still playing as their sub, which I don't really know why. He's not getting any game time and he's a
Yeah.
rookie. And I just don't know why he's still continuously getting subbed.
Mm.
And it's not like he has played a full. He comes on like fourth quarter with like
Yeah.
10 minutes to go. So I don't think that's really
Yeah.
helping his development. Obviously, Adelaide know a lot more about
Mm.
developing players than I do, but yeah, I just
Mm.
find that quite interesting. So you probably would expect him to be sub again, but if Hinge is out, maybe you put Draper in the guts and maybe move Dawson to more of that halfback
Yep.
midfield role. But
Yep.
there are a few players there, Daft Boy. Who are you going to go with?
Yeah, no, their mids are good. They've got so many guys you can roll through there. Saligo's one of those guys.
Yes.
Rankin's a star. Dawson, Rochelle, Crouch, Neil Bullen, Peatling, Keys go rolls through there at points. It's a Rory Laird has pushed in there sometimes, so they've got guys who can go through there at times, and I think they might have to roll that deep against us.
Hmm.
I seriously think, especially if Cherry is playing, hopefully he gets off touch wood, but um, yeah, I think they might have to roll through some guys in there because I just don't think Geelong did that enough. I don't think they played Dangerfield in the middle enough. I know he's playing more of that forward role, but their depth I think that's their flaw, Geelong, this year, and that we found that out on the weekend. Like it's all fun and games playing Dangerfield forward of the ball for
Yeah.
75% of the game, but I said in the preview of the Cats game, he has to play more time in the midfield for them to win the battle, and he didn't. Batto, he didn't, and what happened? We just smacked him in the middle. So I think they've got a better midfield, Adelaide, with those names rolling through there. But I don't know if you can go past Rankin, can you? He's just a really, really, really solid. Well, not more than solid. He's a star
Yeah.
of the game. He can go forward, kick goals, and hurt you. He can hurt you in the middle of the ground with his ball use and his silky kind of skills. He reminds me of kind of Andrew McLeod from Adelaide when he in his prime. Very similar operator. I know we were very young when he was playing, but yeah, everyone raves on about Andrew McLeod and his silkiness, and very similar. Same team, same kind of player. So yeah, Isaac Rankin for me.
Same number as well.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. They're exactly the same player. Like it's just, um, like their impact forward the ball is just second to none. Their midfield craft is just, and their pace as well. It's just
Mm.
almost carbon copy, Pato.
Yeah. That's actually a really good example. Actually, yeah, that's a really good comparison. I never really thought of that, but I think he's like the modern day McLeod to an extent.
Mm,
So
mm.
I really like that pick. I think that probably is the obvious pick in that midfield. Question for Rankin: do you think? I know that you mentioned in the review that you expect George Short to be targeting Rankin. Do you think he's
Mm.
the matchup for George Short, or do you think he could go to a player who's a little bit of a bigger body like a Crouch or even a Dawson to an extent?
Yeah, yeah. I think it'd either be Rankin or Dawson. I think Crouch.
Yeah, I know.
If we're tagging him, I think there's he's having an absolute ripper, or he's impacting the ball, which he never really does. So, yeah, Dawson, he's one of those guys. He can roll on a half back as well. So, yeah, I think Rankin, if you keep him under, the thing is he's so impactful even if he has 12 touches. So if you can just keep his touches, my thing is you don't have to tag him out of the game. Of course, we'd love that. That'd be an ideal world, but he's such a good player. So if you can keep his touches from 25 and bring them down to 18, 19, even six less touches, Pato. Could be six less opportunities on goal.
Mm,
Like it's fine margins footy, and I don't think people realize that. It's like, oh, but Dacos sometimes gets tagged, and he goes, oh, but he beat the tag, but he had 25 instead of
yes.
35. I think people don't realize that. Like, of course, we'd love Rankin to have 10 touches, and George absolutely shuts him out of the game, which he did with LDU. But that's an ideal world. It's not going to happen. Good play. And then if Isaac Rankin's getting tagged out of the game, you just go forward.
Mm.
He'll just go forward. And the same thing with Dawson. He'll just go behind the ball so he can get an easy touch.
Mm,
So it's just a matter of keeping him, just keeping him, to a certain level where he's not winning them the game,
mm,
in a sense, Pato.
yeah. Well said as always, Duff Boy. My midfield opposition watch, I'm probably going to go with Dawson. I
Yeah.
know that Rankin is as I said, the obvious choice, and I think he's the big threat out of those names
Mm.
there. But you can even name a Saligo as well. I think he's been quite good this
Yeah.
season to start 2025. And I think he's had that opportunity now with Rory Laird going back into the back line. So I think Saligo's really grown as a midfielder. But yeah, I'll probably stick my pick with Jordan Dawson.
Yep.
When he does go back or when he does go forward, he can play anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think he's a real threat. But Daff, let's now move on to the forward line opposition watch. I know that you're a little bit nervous, and I know who your opposition watch is, as you told me before the episode started. But your forward line opposition watch, there are so many players there, but there is one player that I think you're looking at. Well, I know that you're looking at, but I'm looking at as well. What have you got for the forward
Uh,
line opposition watch?
so I'll take the viewers back. A couple of years ago, I went to Adelaide in 2022, thinking we were on a roll, and like you said, it was the last month of the year. If we won that game, we sewed up finals. So, me and the fam headed over, thinking, all right, we're a chance to start finals. And next thing you know, I'm watching Ben Keys kick 4 goals in the goal square. In the goal square. So I'm sitting kind of near the Carlton cheer squad end of the ground. So I'm literally watching Ben Keys run towards me 4 times, kicking goals in the goal square. And it's laughable now. It was not laughable at the time. And the thing is, he's had the wood over us in the last. That I don't think that includes in the last three. So I think he's kicked 12 or something. For sure, he's kicked 9 in the last three.
Yeah,
I don't know how many in the last four, which would include that game.
yeah.
So he would be in double digits in the last 4 games against us. And out of the 9 goals he's kicked against us in the 3 games, I read, 7 of them have been in the goal square. 7 of them. Someone has gone back and watched those footage and put themselves through that trauma to watch those goals, Batto. But he puts himself in good positions. And I've spoken about easy goals. And his form he's actually become a better player since those games as well. Like we laughed at when he kicked 4 against us a few years ago. But now it's more of a possibility of happening if we do not keep
100%.
tabs on him. And we haven't kept tabs on him. We've focused on their keys and we've been bitten in the arse. We were bit in the arse last year when they beat us in that round 5 game. We were 2.5 goals up with 5 minutes to go and we were bitten in the arse. He kicked 4 goals. Um, and he kept him in that game. And if we're not looking at him in the review or preview of the game or whatever they're doing this week in the meetings, I think there's an issue. Of course, you're going to be, there's Phil Thorpes and Walker and Fogarty, of course, are the key. But if we're not looking, if the small, we can't have Adam Sard on him. I don't think we can have Adam Sard on. I think Adam Sard's been good, but
Mm,
I think we need I don't know. Do we keep him a can? Do we put a Ollie Hollands on him? Do we put Carroll on him?
I think
Or do
Carroll.
Yeah, we just go, that's your job for today. And then also force him with a Carroll as well, because his ball use is so good. Force him to defend. He loves those goals over the back Ben Keys, which we laugh about. But if he's trying to get cheapies, you push forward. You push forward and he goes, fuck, I'm going to have to keep tabs on him. And that actually minimises his impact to forward of the ball, Pato, because he has to be out of the forward 50
Mm,
and deep inside 50, which he loves. It works both ways. And people always think, to stop a forward, of course, the main thing is defending them one-on-one and stopping them defensively, but also minimizing their impact is actually attacking and using your foot. Like if he goes, Carroll's had 10 at half time and they've led to 3 goals, Matthew Nicks is going to go to Keys going, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? And then he'll start going, I've got to be more defensive. And then his forward game is going to be impacted and his offensive game. So, yeah, Ben Keys, got to keep him under. If we keep him under 3 goals, we'll win.
yep. Love it.
I think just based on the last 3 games we've played them, he has kicked 4 or 3. If we can keep him under 3 or less, I think we're on. I think we can cover, touch wood, we can cover Thilthorpe and Walker and Fogarty.
Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah. I'm
Fucking Ben Keys.
sorry.
Fucking Ben Keys.
Looking back now and that's why this is
Yeah.
so important having Nick Newman. because
I
he's the
know.
player that would always go to players like this. Like last week, I think there was a game a few weeks ago that we were like, oh, we're not too sure. Like maybe like a Cowan could go to him,
Yeah.
but we're all just like, it's just because Newman's not there. Like
Yeah.
if Newman's there, he takes these players because then we won't even
Mhm.
think about Sard going to him, but we won't even think about Ollie Hollands going to him
Yeah.
because Nick Newman's there. So yeah, I just can't wait for hopefully the end of the year, maybe next year. I mean, hopefully next year, when he's back because it's just so important. But yeah, I love. Well, I don't love Keys as a pick because we know how good he is. But I definitely
Uh,
do agree strongly about how important he is, and same with Rankin. I think he's by far the big threat
yeah.
in that forward line. But I'll probably go with Fogarty as that
Yeah.
threat. I know that he's not guaranteed to come back. I know that he's a very good chance to
Mm.
come back this week. So I'll say Fogarty is my forward line opposition watch.
Yep.
Who do you think will go to Fog if he does play?
Well, with Silvani out, it really throws a bit of a spanner in the works.
Haynes?
For me, does it Weeders, I think?
Oh, Waiters.
Does
Wow.
Weeders go and then does Young go to Thilthorpe just to height wise?
Yeah, see, I'm thinking Weeders to Thilthorpe because of
Yeah.
I think Thilthorpe will outbody Young.
Yeah, but I think Fogarty could outbody Young. He's a big gun. He's a big boy, Fog.
Mm.
He's a big he
Oh yeah,
I
he's a
watched him at the
truck.
G. I was working at a game at the G,
He is a
Adelaide,
big
Essendon,
boy.
and I know Zach Reed is built like a twig, but there was this there was this moment he's running on the wing and he's just pushed him square in the chest, and he's completely like, I was like, that is what football's about, like
Yeah.
big brutes, and he just like fair and square, like he just pushed him in the chest, and he just completely just dominated him. That's when I've got scared of Fogarty since that moment. So that's where I worry if he's on Lewis Young. Like
Mm.
it's, I think they can both do the job on either. That's the positive.
Yeah. I'm thinking right now, after hearing that, I'm thinking Weeders to Thilthorpe.
Yep.
I think that's a lock. I think it has
Yep.
to be. Because I think
Mm.
that's the big threat down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Young to Walker to an extent. Because I just think,
Yeah.
I mean, Walker doesn't have the body, like the big I mean, he's obviously still very
Yeah.
big, but he's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
big as like a Fogarty and Thilthorpe. But then that means that a Haynes could go to a Fogarty. I know
Mm.
he's a similar type to Young, but I think Haynes can beat him like
Yeah. Yeah.
with his agility. To
Mm. Mm.
I think that's something that can be really exploited if he does go to Fogarty. Because I mean, like he's coming off a week, and we can kind of do like a zone defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't need to be a matchup.
100%.
Go go.
Like that's what happened on the weekend. They were just switching. So, whoever went a high, it was kind of what you call it a handover. So if you're a deeper defender, and your man pushes high up the ground, you're handing over to the high halfback it might be a Haynes or someone else to take him up the wing, and you're taking his man. So I really like the way we do that. Because when you're in one-on-one, sometimes it's an old school type of thing, where when you're in one-on-ones, it can really cost you. Because if you've got, like you said, with Haynes and Fogarty, we necessarily don't want him in a 1v1. Like if it's deep, if it's a 1v1 and they're both sitting under the footy, it's going to be a pretty hard duel to win. But like you said, with the aerial, if we're in a zone and he's on Fogarty and you've got Weeders nearby, one of them can fly.
Exactly.
So that's what you said with the zone, and it's exactly how I wanted to roll on the weekend.
And then that's something that I've really seen this year with Carlton, where
Mm.
our zone defense has really improved, and it's quite. I can't believe how quickly they have evolved together because they've
Yeah.
got two additions with Silvani and
Yep.
Haynes down there, which
Mm.
they they've never played in the back line. Those four, like with McGovern, Weeders as well,
Yep.
they're brand new together, and that's just why I think it will only get better from now. So
Oh, for sure. Yep.
I just can't wait for, and that's just why it's so unfortunate that Silvani is out, and hopefully he does come back next week or the week after. But my opposition watch, I'm going to go with Josh Rochelle. I know he's not the big threat down there, and that might come back to bite me in the bum, but I just think he can be, he's that type of forward where if we really lock out Keys, it could open up an opportunity for Rochelle. So I think he is going to be my my threat, my opposition watch this week for the forward line Daffy Boy. But let's now move on to our highly anticipated match prediction. So for the people who don't know, what we do for the predictions, we go through bag of the game, which is the best player coming that we think might be exposed, that will play a very good game this Saturday. I don't even know what I'm saying, Dave Boy. Bag of the game, the best player from a Carlton point of view, point of difference, and a winner plus margin prediction. So Daffy Boy, I'm going to throw straight to you for your 3 predictions for this week. What have you got?
Yeah, so I've got these straight in my head right now. And the best on ground, I think, if he continues his form, will be All Australian this season. So best on ground, he was very good on the weekend. He wasn't our best, but he was great on the weekend. George Hewitt is going to be the best player again. I just feel like it's getting to the stage now. We're at round 8 this week. If he has another best on ground performance, Patto, it's going to start ridiculous. Like, it's more than just an extended patch of form. It's just going to be him for the rest of the season if he keeps playing like this. So George Hewitt's going to be my best on. Point of difference, I think, this guy could be best on ground as well. My point of difference is going to be Tom De Koning. I think he can absolutely... That's going to be the difference in the game, I think. And I know there's so many other aspects of the game that, we have to win, but gee whiz. De Koning versus Riley O'Brien. Like, come on. Like, Riley O'Brien's, he's solid. He's solid, but he's a bit of a robot. He can't run. Like, he's not like De Koning's like a midfielder. So if TDK can really just exploit Riley O'Brien this weekend, it will just give us first use. It will give us more impact with TDK ahead of the ball at points in the stoppages, like the goals he seems to be kicking every week. Oh, this matchup, my eyes are lighting. I'm licking my lips at this. And I know someone could clip this, but I'm licking my lips at this opportunity in this matchup. And the match prediction, I tipped us by 3 against Geelong. It was more of a caution. I thought we were going to win. I was very confident last week. I'm confident this week. I'd be more confident if it was here in Victoria. But I think if we're being serious about ourselves, we've got to be winning this game of footy. And I think we will. I think we'll win. I think we'll win by 28 points against the Crows. I think it'll be a neck and neck game, similar to the Port Adelaide game last year, where both teams might be firing shots for a half, and then we'll just, really test their defence and their ability to hold us off. I don't know if they can hold Harry and Charlie off. I know Nick Murray's handy. I know Mark Keane's handy. But if Harry's playing the way he did on the weekend, I don't know if they can stop him. I really don't know. I think we talk about Charlie and Harry. I know Charlie's a 2-time Coleman medalist. But I think when Harry's at his best, I think we're an even better side, just because of his presence higher up the ground and his performances in the ruck as well. And he's another guy who's going to be the second ruck? Like, is it going to be Thilthorpe? Thilthorpe will be the second ruck. Harry can go with Thilthorpe. Harry can go with Riley O'Brien, for fuck's sake. So, yeah, Blues by 28, Patto, and we'll ride into the next Friday night against the Saints with massive confidence.
Yeah, with their massive player, Jackie Carroll, and Rossi Lyon, Davioy. But I completely, I don't even want to peek towards the Saints, mate, because I've started to not really respect them as much as I once did. They are just starting to really annoy me as a club. But can't wait for that preview, because I think we're both gonna rip into the club to an extent. But I love the predictions, and the way that I see it is like with Riley O'Brien. I think he plays a lot. If he's he plays a lot of minutes on the ground, he doesn't go off the ground a lot. So like their second ruck is probably Phil Thorpe, but he
Yeah.
kind of only takes the hit outs if it's in the forward line. Like you don't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
see
it's
Riley
weird, isn't
O'Brien.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes they almost do what Geelong do where they Thilthorpe might even do the centre like they so Riley O'Brien, like you said, does the centre bounce, but he almost shifts defensively. He almost sits at half back like Max Gawn does sometimes as well. So he might do the centre bounce, but if the ball goes forward, like you said, Thilthorpe but turns into the ruckman in the forward end of the ground, but also kind of in the middle. But Riley O'Brien is sticking more defensively to kind of
Mm.
help his defence out. So that'll be a watch for sure. Because if TDK is tearing him to shreds, I'm not sure he's going to want 90% time on ground, Patto.
Mm. Because I know that the way that I see it with Phil Thorpe and O'Brien is pretty much how Collingwood do it with Cameron and McStay.
Mm,
With McStay, whenever it's in the forward line, you never really see Cameron go into the forward line and like very rarely he's actually in the forward line taking a mark. But I know that he used to be that forward, the
yeah.
ruckman, which would go forward, but now he doesn't really have Cox there as that second ruck. I think now Cameron is actually playing as that defensive ruckman, which is exactly how I see it with Adelaide. And I know that a few clubs do it, with obviously Gawn, as you said,
Yep.
with Fullerton to an extent as that second ruck, but he's not really playing as that main second ruck. But yeah, I think O'Brien is a big threat to an extent, but I think the way O'Brien plays his football and his game style suits Tom DeConning and his game style. I
Yeah.
think he's the perfect ruckman for Tom DeConning to play a
Mm,
good game.
yep.
So my match predictions. Now, I went last week. I was just changing my predictions from last week, and the point of difference I went with was Elijah Hollands. And I'm
Yep.
actually going to change the best on ground to Elijah Hollands.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
think because as you said in the review, he was the highest rated player on the ground with 25 disposals and one goal.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of set to play another game like that.
Mm,
And I see him getting a little bit more mid time if Chera isn't there.
yes. Yep.
I know that Cooper Lord probably will step into that Chera role, but
Yeah.
maybe you kind of see Lord and Hollands do that 50-50 split in that
Yeah.
role.
Mm,
So I think Elijah Hollands definitely is set to play a bagger of the game, to be the bagger of the game. Point of difference, I'm going Cooper Lord as my
yeah.
point
Like
of
it.
difference. I know that I just mentioned that could be a 50-50 split. So Cooper Lord will be my point of difference now. Winner plus margin. I've gone the baggers. I've said that. I've said
Yep.
I just needed last week
Yep.
to see that trust when
Mm-hmm.
we beat the Cats, we beat an established side like Geelong, beat them, and then now
Yep.
the
Yep.
trust is back. So I've gone Carlton, but I haven't gone as many points as you. I've gone by 11. So I
Yep.
think Adelaide have a point to prove as well after they lost to the Dockers last week. So I think they do have a point to prove to an extent, but I think we would just be the better side in the end, in my opinion. So Carlton by 11 points, Daffy boy. But before we wrap up the preview episode for the Adelaide Crows and head on to a crucial game next week, we don't go week. We
No.
love to look
Yeah.
forward
Week
here.
by week.
We love to look forward, but just can't wait for the clash
Yep.
against fucking Jack Carroll. But your final thoughts before we wrap up the episode, Daffy Boy? Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, I'm looking forward to it. It's good to it's been good to have a couple games off the prime time, in my opinion. Just a couple off the Thursday, Fridays. I feel like it was weighing us down as a fan base a little bit, those games. When you rock it up at 7:30, it was weighing us down because we're doing episodes at 12 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning after those games. And especially when you don't win, it's not particularly fantastic. But yeah, I like the Saturday Arvo. I'll be tuning in from home. So, that'll be I'm still a little bit nervous. I'm nervous about it,
Oh yeah,
but I'm confident that we'll get the job done.
yeah. No, well said. Speaking about prime time footy, it kind of I thought about it straight away. Have you seen the Thursday night and Friday night games this week?
Yeah,
Holy
yeah,
fuck! So
yeah.
Thursday night is
Yeah,
Essendon and North Melbourne. Friday night is St Kilda versus Fremantle. So
mm,
in terms of scheduling and primetime footy, you don't know what's going to happen at the start of the year. But Essendon and
Yeah.
Northland usually bring out some good games.
Yeah,
St
yeah.
Kilda and Fremantle have a bit of a rivalry now with Ross Lyon there at the helm. So, yeah, it's funny. But yeah, I just thought I'd touch on that because of the prime
Yeah.
time footy. But
I think with those ones, I agree. Like they're not the most particularly exciting games, but I think you get to a point where you got to just have a couple of those teams have a run at it
oh yeah, exactly
for
right.
the like Friday and Thursday. Like they don't get much. Like I love that we're playing so many big games, and we're playing next week, next Friday at the G. So um, sometimes I just like just having a bit of a 4:15 Saturday. Not
Yes,
everyone's watching. Just have a breather, and then we head into next week, and then we've got the Friday in the
Sydney.
against the Swans. So yeah, I agree. They're not particularly the most exciting games, but sometimes those ones can bring out a bit of randomness about it. Like Saints Freo, if like the Saints could pull up and win that game, you just don't know with those teams. And Freo's as fraudulent as St Kilda are. So it's one of those seasons where I don't think anyone's really taken it. Collingwood, I hate to say it, are probably up there, but they could lose this week to Geelong and it could all change. So
Mm.
it hasn't been the most thrilling season, in my opinion. There hasn't been too many close games, has there? Really, there hasn't been
Yeah.
really any nail biters. Well, there's been close games. If you think the Geelong Carlton game's close, if you count that as close,
Mm.
but there hasn't been any. 30 seconds to go. There's a ball up in the middle and it's 96 all. So
Mm.
hopefully this weekend provides a little bit more of that, and hopefully our game is I can just sit on my couch and put the feet up.
Yeah, I thought you were about to say hopefully the Carlton Adelaide game this week is going to be
Yeah.
like that. I'm like, fuck,
Ben Keys after the siren. Oh God.
don't even put it in
I
the
hope he's
universe.
I hope he's laid out with a pulled calf. Just not an injury, just one of those ones where it's like, oh, we'll take the precautionary side and we'll
Yeah, yeah,
rest we'll rest Keezy for this week.
oh fuck, but yeah, because also the week after the Sydney game, we're playing against Giants at Marvel Stadium,
Yes.
which is the
Yep.
12:35 game. So
Yeah.
that's a bit of a like.
Mm.
I mean, we have a few primetime games the week before, but
Can't
then we
can't
play.
sleep in that day.
Yeah, yeah.
Bloody 12:30.
Oh,
Bloody
30,
to
yeah, I
wake up and
know.
go straight to the footy. I am working at that game, so um, that'll be it's very weird. Like
Mm,
because
yeah,
usually when I work a Saturday game, it's usually a 1:10 start, so we get a full
yeah,
hour pre-game, and instead our pre-game's going to be like 20 25 minutes. So
yeah.
it's going to be an early wake up, and the whole Saturday Arvo and night we'll be celebrating on the beers paddo after we knock over the Giants. We speak about week by week here, though.
Yeah, week by week. Week by week, we're looking to round 23. Oh, I can't wait till we play. Well, Port Adelaide at the MC. No, at Marvel Stadium when we beat the Power to make the top four, but we go week by week.
Yep.
But very well wrapped up, Daffy Boy, and yeah, looking forward to this Saturday. Hopefully the Baggers can get the win and go 4-4 heading into next week, which will be crucial
Yep.
to set
Yep.
up our season. But to every single Blue Bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you do want to leave your thoughts, make sure you do comment, or even if you want to send us a personal message, we also do respond to that. We try and be as active as possible when people do reach out. So please don't hesitate to do that if you would like to. But also, if you want to listen to the audio version, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music as well, please check that out. If you've got a car ride or going for a walk, for a run, and you want to put the podcast on to save some time, please do. But also check out our socials, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. There's a few others out there, definitely. I always say those three, and then I say a few others. I reckon there's like one more, which is LinkedIn, and then that's it. Oh, and X as well. So
Thanks.
that's the only one. So, but to you, Daffy boy, absolute pleasure as always
Yep.
doing the preview, and to every single blue bagger out there.
Grab the
The
baggers.
baggers.